Hi, I'm Weston. I love talking about the Rangers, and I'm here to talk about Game 32 of the regular season, where the Rangers win something to 3 over the Philadelphia Flyers. We'll talk about that later on. And, yeah, I think we all saw this game coming. That's the New York Rangers on a heater and another team that's in the Connor Bedard race, so naturally, they're going to give them fits. So would you believe that the first goal of the game scored by the Philadelphia Flyers started with a 2-on-1 the other way for the New York Rangers? What's that? You would? Well, you'd be right, because that's what happened. The Rangers get a pretty nothing shot on. Owen Tippett plays it out. He gets the puck in our zone. And he does this. I'm not sure if he meant to. Obviously, he's going to say he meant to. And I'm not saying that to take away from Owen Tippett, because regardless, he was trying to make something happen, and something happened, which is kind of the goal for everything. It was a shot behind the net that banked off the backboards right to James Van Riemsdyk, and he just kind of shoves it home. It's a shot because it's a shot, but this was sort of him just pushing really hard the puck through the pads of Yaroslav Halak. And that's not anything wrong. Like, you're totally allowed to do that. Like, that's perfectly fine, but this was just him muscling it. It wasn't like a beautiful shot or some crazy sniper backhand. This was just him muscling the goal home. And on that note, the Rangers started Yaroslav Halak tonight. They looked at the 2 games on the schedule right now and said, yes, we're going to save Igor Shesterkin for the powerhouse Chicago Blackhawks. And at, like, face value, it's kind of a bad goal for Halak to allow here to James Van Riemsdyk, but at the same time, who saw that coming? So the Rangers would get on the board late in the first period, and it was a gorgeous passing sequence. A beautiful pass from Artemi Panarin to Mika Zibanejad in the neutral zone. And Mika, this wasn't like a crazy good pass or anything. It wasn't a tight window, but he had enough of a shoulder fake to throw off Tony DeAngelo just enough, just a hair of a second enough for Barclay Goodrow to lay one of the nastiest passes over to Artemi Panarin, snipes it home. No stopping that, and the Rangers tie the game at 1 apiece to end the first period. And it was such an integral moment, too, because the past few games I just haven't felt like the first line has had much chemistry, and I thought that the entire way through the first period, and then that passing sequence happened and just put my mind at ease. So, you leave the first period in a tie game, but you feel like you got outplayed, because of course the Philadelphia Flyers would give you fits. Who thought they wouldn't? And then a man came to our rescue about halfway through the second period. So the puck is in our defensive zone, and it just gets chipped towards Travis Sanheim, and K'Andre Miller sees it. And it was like he ate a mushroom in Super Mario. He steals the puck from Travis Sanheim, guns around him, carries into the offensive zone, and then Travis Sanheim does what many players would do in this situation, go, "Ah, shucks! I have been beaten. I am going to purposefully take a penalty to ensure that a goal is not scored here by K'Andre Miller and trip him very deliberately so he can't get a quality shot off." And K'Andre Miller, I can only assume, turned around, laughed at him, got back up, and then got slashed a few times by Travis Sanheim while still laughing in his face and scored. That's goal of the year candidate. That was insane. That is ridiculous from K'Andre Miller. Okay, you can go back to the first few videos I ever made about the New York Rangers. I have always been high on the K'Andre Miller bandwagon. I have been the conductor of the Miller train since this whole thing got started. And when K'Andre Miller dips into his offensive bag, and I mean dips to the very bottom of it, he can score the very best type of goals in the entire NHL. These are not goals that are impressive. These are goals that, like, few players are actually capable of doing. When he dips to the very bottom of his bag, there are few players that can score more impressive goals than this. And whenever K'Andre Miller scores, it always feels like it's a mic drop. Like, he has scored 14 goals to this point of his career. 3 of them were game winners. I believe 2 of them were overtime winners. The other one that was a game winner, for reference, was the Seattle goal last season, where he just blasts one from the point and then had the wild celly. There was the Florida one last year that wasn't a game winner, but it was the coast-to-coast where he bullied the entire Florida Panthers. And this one. K'Andre Miller has limitless potential, and God, he has unlocked a bit of it this season because he's going to become a lot more physical. He's starting to use how big and strong and fast he is, which is awesome to see. And if he can start to dip into that offensive bag, There is no ceiling high enough to contain Keandre Miller. And it doesn't count as a goal because it wasn't a goal, it was in the shootout, but he had the dagger in the back to kill Boston in like the 8th round of the shootout last season in Madison Square Garden. So a little bit after that Keandre Miller goal, the Rangers get another one. Feed from Panarin to Mika Zibanejad, carries into the offensive zone. Beautiful centering pass for Barclay Goodrow, who gets like a 15-foot breakaway, if you would even call it that. Nasty backhander right through the 5-hole. And the Rangers are up 3-1 in this game. So before moving on, I do want to talk about Kreider's non-goal thing, because Kreider puts a shot on net, and it hits Carter Hart in like the toe pad area, and it's a save. And it's a save because it was called that on the ice. And if it was called a goal on the ice, it probably would have remained a goal. And here's the thing, and I think Flyers fans would even back me up with this, that's probably a goal. That's like, I'm 95% sure. Like 95.6% sure that that's a goal. That being said, there was absolutely no video evidence to prove that it was. There was no angle that you could definitively see the entire puck over the ice. Which, that raises the issue of we kinda should put a camera directly on the crossbar, and I can hear everyone in Calgary screaming, "Oh yeah, you think?" But like, that was a goal. It wasn't called that. I understand why it wasn't. Please, for the love of God, put a camera where it would actually be helpful. So after that, it's late in the second period, and the Rangers get a power play, and you're like, oh, cool. You know, we could get another goal here, probably put us up 4-1, kind of ice the game. That'd be super neato spaghetto, and that isn't what happens. Instead, what happens is the Flyers weasel their way back into this game, just so for the intermission between the second and third and the entirety of the third period, you feel a little on edge. Artemi Panarin has the puck, and it was an awful turnover. Directly to Scott Laughton. It was a really bad play from Panarin. The advantages of when your entire team is super confident and feeling great is you get a lot of amazing goals. You also occasionally will have a play like this where they were just too lackadaisical. That was too weak of a pass from Panarin. Just too much in like the, oh yeah, we're fine type of headspace. And there's the 2-on-1 the other, or 2-on-0, excuse me, the other way for Scott Laughton. And I'm not mad at Halak at all, because, like, A, that's a 2-on-0, and B, speaking from experience, when your team is on a power play, you are never thinking that there's going to be a shot on you, which usually results in you being in a headspace of, haha, I get 2 free minutes, and then instead you allow the worst goal of your career. That last bit was not talking about Yaroslav Halak, by the way. That was a different thing. Anyway, I'm not mad at him for that goal. It was a 2-on-0. That was just a bad play from Panarin. I didn't love that he got demoted immediately. I could have lived with him not. But regardless, it's now a 3-2 game, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, please don't blow this. But don't worry, everyone. Jimmy Vesey came to save the day again for his 3rd goal in 2 games and his 2nd game-winning goal in 2 games. So the Rangers are in the offensive zone, but the Flyers have to try to play it out. I think Kreider might have touched it a little bit with his hand, but he doesn't get anything for this play. And Trocheck settles the puck down, tries to just continue a forecheck, but it bounces off a Scott Laughton stick. Jimmy Vesey with amazing heads-up awareness just sees the puck, finds it, and fires one on net quickly. Amazing situational awareness by Jimmy Vesey. And the Rangers are up 4-2. And again, this would be the game-winning goal. Like, can you imagine a couple weeks ago, like, walking up to someone and being like, hey, by game 32, the third line will be Vesey, Kreider, and Trocheck, and they will be a powerhouse. Oh, cool, so Kreider got his groove back. No. Oh, so, like, Trocheck, our acquisition of the offseason, our big one. You're almost there. It was one of the offseason acquisitions. Are you But, like, a minute and a half after Vesey scores, Morgan Frost, pretty nothing shot, and this is a bad one. This is one that you would love for Halak to have. I thought he played fine. I thought he made some really good saves tonight. This was just a bad goal to allow, and the Flyers, again, will not go away and continue to give us fits, because of course they would. But the Rangers would lock it down the rest of the way. And with like a little over 2 minutes left, Flyers are on a power play, plus they have the empty net, trying to get anything going. And Jacob Trouba, because you can at this point, just fires one from nowhere, and it goes in to make it a 5-3 game. Keandre Miller got an assist on that, which is super neato spaghetti, by the way. And at the beginning, I said something to 3, because people don't love counting empty net goals. And, like, that one's a simple one, right? Because that's just an empty netter. And then we get to the 6th goal of the game for the New York Rangers. Okay. Deep breaths, everyone. So Ryan Lindgren has the puck along the boards, and he just kind of chips it out of our zone, trying to just get it out of there. And that's a good thing. That's what you're supposed to do if you're Ryan Lindgren. Great play by him. And hey, it ends up being a really well-aimed shot. It doesn't have a lot on it because he was trying to chip it high and kill time and get it out, which is good because he was trying not to ice it, but like, hey, if it gets on net, perfect, right? So that's a super cool thing, and he does it really well. Good job, Ryan Lindgren. And then it's a foot race between Kaapo Kakko and Tony DeAngelo to just chip it into the empty net and seal the game for the New York Rangers. And Tony DeAngelo, who is beaten at this point, and Kaapo Kakko is just about to nudge it on in, has a choice to make, which is he can either just kind of try to, like, stick lift Kakko and do something like that and, you know, prevent it, or, and this was the more interesting option, which is wield his stick like an ancient broadsword and over the shoulder, like decapitating a evil king, slash Kaapo Kakko. And he chose the interesting one. And that's where this gets kind of weird, because that's a penalty. But instead of a 2-minute power play, because it's an empty net, and that was a very, very clear scoring chance that was going to be a score. It wasn't like there was a goalie in net and it was a, you know, a good chance. No, that's a score. That's a goal. But because of that, it's just an awarded goal. And so it's like, all right, neato spaghetti. So Kakko was right there. It was, you know, his goal to have. It was his goal to lose, and he lost it, so it's his. No, because he never touched the puck, which means it's Ryan Lindgren's goal because Tony DeAngelo slashed Kaapo Kakko while he was about to score the goal, but he never touched the goal, and so it isn't his goal, but he drew the penalty that had the goal happen, and now I feel lightheaded. So between Kreider's no goal that was a goal but wasn't a goal, and then Trouba's normal empty netter, and then Ryan Lindgren's weird empty netter, there was somewhere between 4 and 7 goals scored for the New York Rangers tonight, so something to 3 was the final score. I'm tired. So overall, I thought Halak allowed 2 kind of not so great ones, but overall had some really nice saves. The defense was mixed bag. I thought the third pair was a nightmare, but, you know, kind of the standby. Miller and Trouba looked solid. Fox and Lindgren looked really solid. The first line was amazing. I really like the first line all of a sudden. I think they looked pretty darn solid. They had some really nice chemistry tonight. VC is apparently a scoring king and is going to challenge for the Rocket, at least according to the last 2 games that I've watched. So the third line's cooking. And the kids' line wasn't wonderful tonight, but they're entitled to have a bad evening. So I'm not going to be too upset about that. I'm not going to read too much into it. And hey, you got a quick turnaround because you play again tomorrow night. So tomorrow night at 7:30, you're in Chicago to face the Blackhawks, who have won one of their previous 14 games. And of course, that one was Yeet game. And you're on a heater winning 6 in a row. You're going to have your number 1 goalie, one of the best goalies in the league, in net. And I don't think you could have this more clearly marked as a trap game if the marquee just read trap game instead of Blackhawks versus Rangers. But I'll be here afterwards to talk about it. That's all I have for the evening, so if you enjoyed the video, please consider to like and subscribe. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day, and as always, go Rangers!